Hi Karen, just want to ask you a few more questions on eviction today. It's a huge topic because being overseas and not knowing totally how the process works, we understand a little bit more about how you handle eviction. I believe first of all you have a very low percentage of eviction. Why?
In my inventory, I have a total of 125 properties that I manage. My percentage as far as those that resulted in eviction is less than 3%. The reason is screening, making sure that the tenant is qualified in all categories. But then also too, again, the communication that you have with the tenant in a situation where things go bad. I strictly enforce the lease agreement. My lease agreement states that rent's due on the 1st. It's late as of the 3rd. We apply late fees on the 4th. The dispossessory process starts immediately, 9 a.m. on the 15th. So I adhere strictly to the lease agreement in reference to handling the process of eviction and initiating the eviction process. In the state of Georgia, the process can take as long as 3 months, but in some counties it moves a little faster.
I have a question for you, Karen. Like, if you have to start an eviction process, it can take up to 3 months. Do you find that sometimes tenants move out before the 3 months have expired?
Absolutely. I have never had a tenant that held over without conducting an inspection with me, returning the property in its best condition as possible, and putting the keys in my hand. And again, that communication between the tenant and management is what will promote that type of communication, even when things go bad.
I remember going with you a couple of days ago to a home where the tenants had to be evicted, or they broke the lease, more to the point, or they were finishing the lease.
They fulfilled the lease, but they just failed to communicate with me regarding the notice to vacate.
I was very impressed in a way. Those people were going through a lot of trouble to keep the communication with you and ensure that they give the property back to you in excellent condition.
Yes.
Surely that's a sign and a credit to you. So I just want those things to be mentioned because a lot of people would probably not care so much about how they give back the property. But the way you handle people, tenants and landlord, I think that's a key secret on how you get your results.
There's a level of dignity that has to be offered to the tenant. My tenants know that me providing them with good customer service as I represent you in the transaction is very, very important to me. Relationships, I don't do a lot of advertising with my company. I am a referral-based company. And in that, it is a credit and a true compliment when your tenants are referring other prospective tenants to you to service them, and your clients are referring good clients. So that is my win-win scenario. That is what is important to me. There are some clients that I turn away, but it's because they're not interested in providing the level of product that I'm wanting to present to the market, because I feel very strongly about that being the key to success.
As an investor, when I started dealing with you, I straight away felt that you were doing your job so well that I was going to go against myself if I didn't give you the tools that you needed to do your job well. So it has really worked so well for me in terms of you finding the right tenant, you dealing with difficult situation, and really totally turning around difficult situation for me. So I'm sure we're in good hands. I have no doubt we're in good hands. Karen, is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of eviction, like the cost of it? If it goes to the end and the worst comes to the worst, you do have to go to court, I believe, and even have the sheriff coming over and physically remove tenants, which happens, I assume, very rarely.
I think it's very, very important for management to have a strong stance in the collection process. Even if it happens one time in the course of a lease, you don't want the tenant to feel comfortable for it to happen again. So I have hired an attorney that represents assurance in the transaction. The attorney handles the dispossessory filing, which gives us priority in court. The attorney that I work with, he handles and services all counties here in Georgia. And in his process and in his 50-year relationship with the judicial system, when I have situations where we're dealing with tenants and delinquency, he is very thorough and he is very swift about dealing with the tenant and enforcing management's position of collection, pay, or turn over the property.
All right. And the last question for this interview, Karen, you've given me ballpark figures for different homes, like the 2-bedroom units, the 3-bedroom home, the 4-bedroom homes, mm-hmm. and you've been pretty spot on all the time. Like you give me a bracket price. So it seems to me, your price is very well. I often looked at other offers and other properties and noticed that sometimes I find the rental income is very low. Can you please explain?
Depending on the area of the property, depending on the community surrounding that property, all of those things have an effect on the product that you're trying to present to the market. So again, that is why I will work very, very closely with your agents to make sure that not only the property, but the community is going to provide a scenario where we're going to be able to get the highest rent.
So in other words, you're not taking first come, first serve.
Oh no.
You're screening the tenants properly, and you make sure that you maximize the return for the clients.
In the process of marketing, once I list your property, I CC you so that you can get a good feel about the momentum of lead generation. Who's responding to the listing? How many calls are we getting? How many email inquiries are we getting? That way you have, not only but you have a good feeling about how many inquiries are coming to your property, and you and I will come together if lead generation is not providing the traffic that we need, so that we can get your property rented within a minimum of 30 to 45 days.
Karen, one simple question. What was the shortest period of time you experienced to find a tenant? And I'm assuming great property, great presentation, and fair price.
24 hours.
Okay. What was the longest time? And maybe you can give mine as an example.
Actually, I'm dealing with that right now as we speak. I had a product that was not in the best area. The owner really, the investor was like, well, if it's not in the best area, why do we make our product look different than what else, everything else that's in the community? We do that so that regardless as to what's going on in the community, that the scenario that we get is that we get a good tenant, one that's interested in making a long-term commitment. The market allows us at this time to secure a tenant that's really interested in anywhere from a 24 to 36-month lease. The benefit to my investor, lower turnover cost. You're not having to turn the property over every 12 months. You're not having to pay for marketing and screening. We want a good tenant. If we get a good tenant, we want to keep the tenant as long as we can.
Thank you, Karen. That makes sense to me. That will make sense to all our viewers, no doubt. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.